You bought your motorcycle for $8,000 in spring, but after October, there's a hidden deadline that could cut that value in half before you even know what hit you. Dealers know it, buyers exploit it, and if you haven't prepared, the market turns savage. One missed step and your $8,000 Sportster can sink to $4,000 overnight, with every winter flaw slashing more off the price. Most riders think depreciation is slow, but the truth is, a neglected bike becomes a bargaining chip for anyone with a checklist, and the 50% drop isn't some myth. What's the one move that separates those who lose thousands from those who protect every dollar? The countdown to October's cliff starts now. October draws a hard line in the used motorcycle market. The numbers don't whisper, they shout. And in northern states, the UK, and cold parts of Australia, dealer auction data shows a median 10 to 20% price drop for used bikes between October and February. That isn't a rounding error. It's the difference between a $7,000 listing and a $5,800 reality just for missing the window by a few weeks. Standard cruisers, Harleys, Shadows, Vulcans are hit hardest, with auction prices falling up to 18% in a single month. Sport bikes don't escape either. 6% drop is routine after Halloween, with some models losing $1,000 in value by December. And this isn't just a dip on a chart, it's a market-wide freefall. Dealers face overflowing lots, private sellers watch their online listings gather dust, and time on market metrics double. 22 days in summer stretches to over 40 by midwinter. The longer a bike sits, the more desperate the seller becomes. Inventory reports from National Power Sports Auctions and Black Book confirm the pattern. November listings linger, December brings bargain hunters, and by January, the only offers left are bottom feeders looking for a distressed deal. Segment by segment, the pattern repeats. Adventure and dual sport bikes drop less, about 8 to 15%, but even they can't dodge the seasonal slide. Older bikes and high mileage models take the deepest cuts, sometimes losing 25% or more by the time snow melts. And in the worst hit regions, especially where riding stops completely, the recovery doesn't start until April. Until then, every week is a new round of markdowns. The V-shaped curve is brutal. March to August brings a rush of buyers and a price rebound. 5 to 15% gains are common, and bikes that sat unsold all winter suddenly move at near peak value, but miss that window and the market punishes you. In 2024, Minneapolis sellers watched identical Honda CBR 500Rs drop from $6,500 in September to $5,200 by January. In London, street glides listed at 17,250 pounds in July struggled to fetch 14,650 pounds by Christmas, with time on market ballooning past 45 days. Dealers know these numbers by heart. That's why their trade-in offers plummet after October 15th, factoring in not just the season, but the risk that you did nothing to protect your bike. The system is rigged for those who act early, wait too long, and you're not just selling a motorcycle, you're selling at a loss with the math stacked against you. The data doesn't lie. Miss October, and you're not just hoping for a buyer, you're hoping to escape the financial cliff. When a dealer sits across from you in November, the math is already done. Every used bike gets an automatic 15% haircut. No debate, no matter how spotless it looks. That's not a guess. It's a line on their valuation sheet labeled winter storage deduction. And the dealer isn't worried about your story. They're looking for evidence: battery voltage, fuel smell, leaks, receipts. Miss even one, and the price drops again. A seasoned buyer walks in with a checklist, not a sense of nostalgia. First, they pop the seat and check the battery terminals. Corrosion, that's $500 gone. And next, they listen to the idle. And if the engine stumbles or smells sour, stale fuel is the culprit. Now you're down another $1,000 because injector cleaning or carb work isn't cheap. Oil on the case gasket or a hint of weeping at a fork seal, that's at least $400 off, usually more. It's not personal, it's procedure. Private buyers have learned these tricks from the trade. They'll bring a voltmeter, test the battery, and watch for any hesitation at startup. A reading under 12 volts means you never used a smart charger. That's a red flag. And they'll use it to hammer your asking price. If the bike won't start at all, expect a project bike offer, sometimes half of what you wanted with a shrug. And the negotiation isn't a conversation, it's a subtraction game. Dealers sharpen their knives in the fourth quarter. After October 15th, every bike on the lot is a risk. The market is flooded, buyers are scarce, and inventory costs money to hold. And a dealer will tell you straight, like, I have to assume you did nothing for winterization unless you can prove otherwise. That's why my offer is what it is. Now on the spot, they'll pull up a 20-point winter prep checklist, fail any item, fuel, battery, seals, documentation, and the deduction is automatic. The numbers add up fast. A $7,000 bike in September drops to $5,950 just for being listed in November. If the battery is flat and the idle is rough, now you're at $4,800 before anyone talks about paperwork. Miss the proof, and at the dealer's final offer lands so far below your expectation it feels like an insult, but it's not personal, it's business. The only way out is to be able to prove step by step that your bike didn't just survive the winter, it was protected from it. Ethanol doesn't sleep through winter. In a sealed tank, it's quietly pulling water from the air, drop by drop, until what started as fuel turns into a corrosive layer that settles at the bottom. By the 60-day mark, lab tests show as much as 0.5% water content, enough to trigger phase separation. That's when the ethanol and water break away from the gas, forming a sludge that sinks right to the fuel pickup. It's not just chemistry, it's a direct attack on metal, rubber, and everything that keeps your engine alive. A chemist in the lab puts it bluntly. Ethanol is hygroscopic, it pulls moisture from the air, and in a sealed tank, that mixture is sitting on your injectors, actively corroding the metal. It's a chemical time bomb. The evidence is visible after just 3 months. 2 petri dishes, one filled with stabilized fuel, the other with untreated E10. The stabilized sample stays clear, metal strip untouched. The untreated dish, rust blooms, pitting scars the surface, and a sticky brown film clings to the bottom. That's the same sludge that gums up carburetor jets and seizes injectors. The financial fallout isn't guesswork. Injector cleaning or carburetor rebuilds aren't weekend projects. They're $1,200 repair bills at a dealership, sometimes more if corrosion spreads to the tank or fuel pump. For carbureted bikes, the float bowls trap this mess, and by spring, the first startup draws that acidic cocktail straight through the system. Sticking floats, clogged jets, and hard starts are just the opening symptoms. Fuel-injected bikes resist longer, but once phase-separated sludge hits the injectors, spray patterns collapse, and no amount of fresh gas will bring them back. Replacement is the only fix. This isn't rare. Industry surveys and shop logs show a spike in fuel system repairs every March, tracing straight back to bikes stored with untreated fuel. The timeline is consistent: 60 to 90 days of winter storage without stabilization, and the damage is underway. And by spring, the cost lands on the seller's head. A neglected fuel system isn't just a mechanical risk. It's a red flag that buyers and dealers use to slash offers, sometimes by thousands. The chemistry is merciless, and the market knows it. Start with a nearly full tank of fuel. Leave just a little room for expansion. That single step limits how much moist air can settle inside, cutting down the water that ethanol will pull in over the months ahead. Next, reach for a premium stabilizer. Not all bottles are created equal. Look for a polyethylamine or PEA-based stabilizer. Brands like Stabil 360 Marine or BioBor EB are proven in lab tests to prevent phase separation and corrosion in E10 fuel. Cheaper options might claim to protect, but most only slow the breakdown. The right stabilizer is the difference between a clean start in spring and a $1,200 repair bill for seized injectors or gummed up carburetors. Pour the recommended amount into the tank, usually 1 ounce for every 2.5 to 5 gallons, but always check the label, and cap the tank and rock the bike gently to mix. Now, the most overlooked step: run the engine, let it idle for 5 to 10 minutes. This isn't just about warming things up. That window is how stabilized fuel reaches every corner: injectors, fuel rails, carburetor jets, lines, and return paths. Without this, untreated fuel stays trapped in the system, and corrosion starts exactly where you can't see it. For carbureted bikes, there's one more move: find the fuel tap and turn it off. Let the engine keep running until it stalls on its own. That empties the float bowls and leaves behind only stabilized fuel, not a puddle of soon-to-be sludge. If your bike has a drain screw on the carbs, open it up for a few seconds to let any last drops out. That's the difference between a clean idle in April and a no-start headache that costs you hundreds. Don't double the stabilizer dose. More isn't better. Too much can foul plugs or make spring startups harder. Stick to the instructions and don't skip the engine run. 5 to 10 minutes is the sweet spot. Long enough to circulate, short enough to avoid overheating or fuel waste. And when you're done, top off the tank if needed, and make a note of the date and product used. That final detail becomes your first line of defense when a buyer or dealer asks for proof. And this isn't a chore, it's the protocol that keeps your bike's value intact and your wallet out of the repair shop. A motorcycle left to sit through winter faces a silent assault. The battery is the first casualty. Even with the ignition off, small draws from the dash or alarm keep pulling power. Within 2 months in a cold garage, voltage can slip under 10.5. That's the threshold. Below it, the lead plates inside start to sulfate, and a third of the battery's capacity is gone for good. As a battery engineer explains, a standard lead acid battery is dead at 10.5 volts. Once it hits that point, you've permanently lost a third of its capacity. A flat battery isn't just an inconvenience, it's a permanent financial strike against your bike. And a new battery costs at least $150, but the bigger loss is trust. Buyers and dealers check voltage first. If the battery's flat, they assume you've ignored everything else. The negotiation is over before it starts. A trickle charger seems like a fix, but it's a trap. Old chargers push constant current, boiling off water and hardening sulfate crystals. Modern smart chargers, battery tender, C-Tech, NoCo, are different. They sense voltage, cycling on and off to keep the charge just right. For $40 to $100, a smart charger even keeps the battery healthy for 5 winters, saving hundreds in replacements and protecting resale value. Battery maintainers are now built to UL and SAE standards, making them a simple, reliable choice. Tires and suspension face their own risks. Sitting on cold concrete flattens tires and dries out suspension seals. A $50 set of stands lifts the bike, keeps tires round, and preserves fork and shock life. If stands aren't an option, rolling the bike a quarter turn every few weeks prevents flat spots. A 5-minute job that can save a set of tires. Rodents are the hidden threat. Wiring harness repairs from mice or rats can cost $1,000 to $2,000, rarely covered by insurance. Dryer sheets or mothballs around the frame are cheap protection. Service managers see harness jobs every winter, each one a warning sign for future buyers. Proof matters. A photo of your charger, stands, and odometer tells its own story. Every step is a shield against the checklist that cuts value. A dealer doesn't care about promises, they care about proof. When you roll in with a stack of receipts, photos of your stabilizer bottle, a charger hooked to the battery, and a date stamp shot of the odometer, the entire conversation changes. That $30 you spent on a premium stabilizer and a smart battery maintainer isn't just insurance, it's leverage. The dealer's checklist suddenly works in your favor. And instead of slashing $1,000 for a rough idle, they hear a clean start on stabilized fuel. Instead of docking $500 for a flat battery, they see a voltage reading above 12.6 and know the system's healthy. The deduction for possible storage neglect evaporates. In December, 2 identical cruisers land on the appraisal block. One comes with nothing but a handshake. The other has a photo log and receipts for every step. The first gets a $4,800 offer, fuel system cleaning and battery replacement already penciled in. The second, properly documented, holds at $6,000 or more. That's a $1,200 gap for the same bike, same mileage, same market. For higher end models, the difference climbs to $2,000 or more. Auction data from National Power Sports and Black Book confirm it. A documented winterized bike consistently sells for 20 to 30% more than a neglected one, even in the same week. The numbers don't lie. Every dollar spent on winter prep comes back tenfold in resale value. A $30 protocol, fuel stabilizer, smart charger, a few minutes with your phone shield you from thousands in forced discounts. When the dealer leans back and says, "Show me your proof, you're ready. The only thing left on the table is the offer you actually deserve." After October, data from dealer inventories and auction sites show motorcycle prices drop by 10 to 20% almost overnight. As seen with Joe Ryder's $8,000 bike losing half its value by spring, the real cost comes when neglected maintenance turns minor market dips into thousands lost. Expert evidence confirms that a single missed step, fuel stabilization with a PEA-based additive, can lead to $1,200 injector repairs within 90 days of winter storage. Battery engineers and dealer checklists show a dead battery or visible neglect cuts hundreds more. While some long-term effects of ethanol blends and regional resale gaps remain understudied, every documented case points to the same conclusion: discipline and documentation. Protect your investment. The proof is in the paperwork and the startup sound in spring. For motorcycle owners, the difference between a $30 prep and a $3,000 loss is not a myth. It's a matter of record. The files are clear. When it comes to winter, preparation is value.